the video. You could see the video.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll try to do this again. Is it playing?
Hi, my name is Keke. I am 18 years old. Centered around substance abuse among my peers. As young people, we love to go out, have fun, and depart. Watch out.
Was it working?
Yes, ma'am.
You could see the video and hear me.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, all right. We continue then.
Okay.
Oh.
Joy 99.7 FM.
What is this? Substance abuse now. This is
I am
unacceptable.
18 years old,
This
and
is
my
substance
body
abuse
is
now.
centered around substance abuse among my peers. As young people, we love to go out, have fun, and depart. Which are all very okay. However, are we going to continue doing these things at the detriment of our own health and future by abusing drugs and substances?
No, ma'am.
I caught up with Precious and Amanda at the Chosen Women's Rehab Center, who have each had their personal encounters with substance abuse.
I'm 23. I started abusing marijuana when I was 18 years. And this is how it started. I was depressed some time ago. And I thought about going to the ghetto to get a weed because we were taught in our syllabus concerning how people abuse drugs and why they abuse drugs. So when I was depressed, I thought of taking it to calm me down. And after taking it, I got more excited. I was calmed by, I thought. So since that time, if I'm not happy, I go to the ghetto to get my own weed. And after taking it for a long period of time, which is 5 years, I began to deform. I became very thinner than I look now. Right now, I would say
I will smoke the substance anytime I want now. I will abuse the substance.
So I would like to use this opportunity to advise the youth not to depend on hard drugs when they are going through tough times. Because
Nonsense. I will abuse the substance whenever I want now.
I'm 20 years old. I was abusing drugs when I'm 17 years. And I was smoking cocaine so bad. Person introduced me to cocaine.
This is rubbish.
My auntie. Take me to die. Take me from Nigeria to
Off this trash now.
I was abusing drugs in like 3 years now. But I was still doing street work for her. So luckily for me, Choosing came and rescued me. Now I'm getting better.
So we have clients that come in as young as 14 years, unfortunately. And these clients are usually brought in by their families. And just a little history about how a 14-year-old could actually get addicted to drugs. It usually starts with marijuana. And about 12 years ago, the most popular way that they used to get addicted was by grinding the
Sorry, are you talking about me?
the marijuana and adding it
Back
to
in
their
Uganda, I will slaughter your family.
school
I will
and
slaughter your family.
friends addicted also. Now weed
I
is
will slaughter. Feed them to the baboon.
and cake
Doc, I'm coming to you because you work directly with the students. You are with them. You hear their stories. My question will be, and not just students, but the young people in general. When you interact with them, what do you think are their reasons for getting into these things? We had one young lady in the video talk about the fact that she felt she was depressed, and further that she said she thought nobody was there to listen to her. And then she remembered back in school that they were taught about, drugs and how it can calm you down and all that. So because there was nobody to talk to, she had to resort to abusing drugs. And she went to get it once. She thought she was cool. And then it continued that way for 5 years. Now I want to find out from you, when you interact with these students, what are their concerns? What do you think make them end up like this, going to abuse drugs, and at the end of the day getting themselves into all forms of sexual behaviors? We want to understand it, especially so from the perspectives of parents, from us as guardians, and all that. So Doc, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Edem, for having me on your program. But I would give a general overview in the sense that I sign a confidential pact with my students. And so it will be difficult to come up with specifics, but I will give a general overview about what is happening in the country with regard to drug use or substance abuse amongst young people. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Okay. So,
sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, someone is interrupting. So the general overview.
Oh, yeah. Shut up, now. Stop it.
I am so sorry, Gladys. I will kick them out.
With the coming of technology and the use of the phone, young people ended up having wide social network. In the process, their interpersonal relationships ended up not being well developed. As a result, in the event that they have problems, they normally don't have anyone they can talk to. And so that is where the challenge starts from. When we listen to most young people,
finally the Passcode is out. I will slap the stupid monkey up.
And if we have to approach this issue, especially so in our homes, as teachers, as caregivers, how do we go about it? We need perspectives into, the world of the young people. Angelina.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. Can you guys hear
Good
me?
evening.
So yes, my name is Angelina. I tend to work with and engage with young people a lot. So I listen to them and then we have a lot of conversations. I think one of the mistakes that most of us do is bundle everyone and then talk and then say they are Gen Zs, right? Because from 1997 to 2024, 2012, those are like Gen Zs, but we just decide to just call them Gen Zs when there's a phase one Gen Z and then there's a phase two Gen Z. I'm a phase one, and sometimes when I see what the phase two people are doing, I'm like, what is happening? Like, I don't think I will do this, right? So I think we have to look through the lens of we shouldn't bundle them up. They are different people as to how they come and approach to people. Also, I think for young people, they just want you to understand them, right? And not feel like you're being judged. That is why most of the time they talk to their friends and not their parents or like seek professional help because their friend would relate more than and would not judge them. That is why this whole trend is happening of we listen, we don't judge, because their friends won't judge them for whatever they are doing. But then if they should seek professional help, the person will probably judge them, and even their parents, right? The way your parents will look at you now when you tell them your issue will change, and you wouldn't feel like, well, I told you this, and now you are treating me like this, so I'm not going to come to you anymore with any issue. Right. And I think I agree with I think it was Miss Abna when she said that because of social media now, right? Now we have a lot of access. Like there's easy access. If you want to get drugs, it's easy. We have people that we call plugs. They are sort of middlemen when we need something. You just go to them and say, well, I want let's say infused sobolo or infused mashke or infused okro or infused banku. I mean, these plugs will get you whatever you want. So you don't have to go and stand in a queue or get even you don't even have to know your plug, right? If they're on Snapchat and he comes like heavily recommended by other people, you just text them and they do discreet packaging and you get whatever you want. So there's been a lot of like easy access on drugs, right? I think also there's a bit of change in how we see when it comes to relationship and sex, right? Previously or initially, it would just be maybe probably dating or courting and just straight into marriage. But now there's situationship, there is friends with benefits, there is going with the flow, there are lots of labels, right? And it's just like, well, I want to get a friend and then also like a sex partner in one person without having to commit. So they want some sort of emotional connection with these people, but I don't have to do too much to get it. So we always live there's some mantras that we live by. Well, it's not that deep. Then we also have we listen, we don't judge, and life is what you make it, really, and by any means possible. If I have to be a plug to make money, I will. I don't have to. I think that's what people will term young people as lazy, but then they'll find every means, every avenue to make the life that they have, right? And there's also this fear of missing out, which we call FOMO. There's this new rise in vapes, right? Back then it could be shisha, but right now it's vape. And the cool kids are doing it. And because there's a fear of missing out, you want to join that cool kids. I mean, that's that batch of people. So what do I have to do to have a seat at the table? Then if I'm not doing that, then that means that I don't belong.
Angelina, let me interrupt you a little bit. Who is a cool kid?
Probably someone who is So there are some things that makes you cool, right? Do you have an iPhone? Yes, you're a cool kid. Do you know the latest trends? Yes, you're a cool kid. Is your fashion sense on point? Yes, you're a cool kid. Do you wear the latest? Do you know the latest movies, the latest songs, platforms to get onto? Do you know people? Right? That's what makes you a cool kid. So I'm gonna come from even the point of Stanley Cups now, right? People are just buying Stanley Cups for 700 cedis, 1K because they want to belong. So if I have that, also makes me feel like I'm that girl.
Okay, thank you. Please go on.
Yeah. So that is it for like young people when it comes to relationship, sex, and then their easy access to drugs.
Thank you very much, Angelina. That's quite insightful. I see some comments in the chat session. Someone says that Gen Z phase 1, Gen Z phase 2. Thank you for the enlightenment. And yes, that's very enlightening. Okay, now I will move on to Dr. Collins Bedu Ajiman. Doc, hi.
Edem, I am here.
Yes.
And I'm already enjoying the program so far. So I await your question to me.
I know you have a lot of insights to share with us. You have also interacted with students a lot, but I would like you to take it from the perspective of parents, most importantly. I want you to talk about the detachment that you have experienced, especially so with your interaction with young people, how much they desire that parents, guardians, are really there for them, and what the absence is doing in their lives and reasons they will resort to, doing drugs and being in their own world.
All right. Thank you very much, Adam, for this particular session. And listening to my colleagues on the call, I think there is more that parents needs to do. And if you look at what our phase 1 Gen Z just shared with us, it looks as if as we are moving on, parents are also not moving on in terms of trying to understand the kind of generation that we have. And I look at it from several perspectives, even at the workplace. The way we deal with the different generations must be different. So how we deal with the way millennials think, the way they will want to do things. If you are an HR manager, if you are a leader, if you're a supervisor, you need to understand how they think, how they will want to do things. Similarly, we are talking about the youth. And by the youth, let's imagine all from the adolescent ages, from say 10 years all the way to the end of the teen years, or even early adulthood, which is around your early 20s. We need to begin to understand how they think, how they want to do things, and how we will be able to now align and get to understand them from where they come from. I am sure if we have a parent who possibly gave birth in their early 40s, that parent who is on this call, possibly now about 60 years plus, may be missing with the thoughts that was shared by Angelina regarding some of the terminologies that were used. Now, what I'm trying to say is that if we don't try to invest in trying to understand the thinking pattern, the behavior pattern of the current generation that we have, we will still continue to be that strict parent as our parents, that is the parents, how they treated us. And we want to carry on with the same behavior pattern, shaping pattern with the current generation we have. We may try to be so strict, set the rules, limit a lot of things, but I tell you, from dealing with the current generation, you'll be beating about the bush, you'll be flogging a dead horse. It is sad to say it bluntly. Now look at the kinds of thoughts that were shared. Parents of our time, you should not expect to see maybe marijuana, cigarette, or alcohol bottle in your son's bag or in your young adolescent female's bag. You should not expect to see these things, maybe use the washing machine, washing the trouser or the shirt or any other dress, and you found evidence of something is going on. No. Now it comes in repackaged forms. If you do not invest in trying to understand the behavior pattern, the thinking pattern of the current generation, you'll be lost. And a lot of things will be going bad by the time you realize you've lost it. Now, the boy may come home with a favorite sobolo. The sobolo is kept in his or her room, and they drink it at their convenience. How many parents will be suspicious of just a normal sobolo with sobolo label and everything on it? I'm telling you, as a parent, you are lost. Your son is gradually yielding to substance abuse. The boy may come home with a particular mashke or kinky, and he begins to say, I love this, my favorite kinky. It comes, it's packaged in dark polyethylene bag. There is pepper, there is enchinam or fried fish, as we will say it. And you think it's just a normal food he's brought. I tell you, you are lost as a parent. The boy may come, it's sad to hear. Talking to some of my friends who are police officers now, even some popular joint jollofs, and they say they are infused. And when they say it's infused, it means you see it as jollof. I tell you, some of the things, particles you see in there are not jollof. Those who are taking it and eating it in their mouths, they know what it is also doing to their systems. Now, all these that I'm trying to say is simple. We need to begin to appreciate the thinking pattern and the behavior pattern of the youth. When it comes to even how they communicate, their communication patterns are different. You heard Angelina mention FOMO. And some parents who are on this call, especially if you are not aligned, you may be wondering, what is it? Fear of missing out. That means a lot to especially Dr. Setoji and myself as psychologists. It is about trying to conform. How do I become like the so-called others who are revered, who are regarded among my peers? How do I become accepted? How do I also run alongside with them? And that is the flow, to be with them, be like them. And so among my mates, everyone is hooked up. If I don't do same, I am not with the flow. And so if you are there as a parent and your boy or your girl is talking, you wouldn't understand. Oh, FOMO. I want to follow the flow. I want the flow. Just few words. You don't understand. They are standing right by you, but you did not understand the communication. Now, many of our young ones do not even now put, say, locks on their phones if they do have. They will still communicate the same way you communicate by typing, but If they give their phone to you as a parent, you will not understand what they are saying. Some of the things they say, if they say 11, 11, what does it mean? 99, what does it mean? 143. So they are speaking with another person on, say, social media, and they are using coded language. Why have they chosen to use coded language? They are using coded language because they know in an unlikely situation as a parent, because of your strictness, how your parent treated you and how strict you are, the only way they can outsmart you is to follow their current way of communicating. So they are talking to their friend, then all of a sudden they will type number 9. What does number 9 means? It means one of my parents is nearer. And so whoever the person is talking to will stop. 99 meaning both parents are here. The point that we are trying to say is that we need to invest in trying to understand the thinking and behavior patterns of the current generation that we have. Until we get to understand how they are thinking, how they are behaving, we'll be able to also design relevant interventions. We'll be able to meet them halfway, then we begin to address some of their concerns. If indeed the current generation, they don't just want you to just judge them upon they revealing something to you. They may be going through some challenges. The moment they speak about it as a parent, do we scream and shout, abomination, goodness me, where did this come from? Who taught you this? And the way your body language, your posturing, your words, your facial expressions, and your expression of despair, simply because your son or daughter of that young bracket age, based on possible exposure, has said something you think this is unthinkable, this is unheard of. The moment you do that, then they begin to think. That is why they say, as for our parents, indeed, you cannot just what? Speak to them without they judging you. The next time, what they will do is that they may not open up to you again. They will not communicate with you, and they will rather want to stay by themselves, rather lead themselves to friends and their peers. Now we are talking about two things here: substance abuse as well as casual sex among this particular youth bracket. If they are not able to get closer to you, the parent, they are not able to have conversations with you because they know they begin to feel you will judge them. You may have demonstrated one particular situation. Now they won't come to you again. They are emboldened to now begin to follow the flow. Where are they going to get the flow from? Their age mates who are friends, their age mates who are mates, their neighbors that they live close with. You may think, oh, he's gone over to his friend opposite our house. Those people, they have the flow. What can this flow do to us? That is what we are discussing. Substance abuse could be one of the possibilities. And then girl, boy conversations also come in. Now we need to say the context where we find ourselves can influence this particular generation we are talking about. I remember one particular research by one of our colleagues, Che Jemfi and others, just a recent work. And they clearly indicated that where there is limited access to social media, as well as those who live with parents and there is active interaction between the parents and these younger others, there is a limit to the extent to which they get influence to begin to think of abusing drugs of any form. What that means is that exposure is one of the key risk factors to the challenges we are discussing. Now, many parents as young as 5-year-olds buy tablets and they use the tablet as a bait. to have more time for themselves. Once the child have tablets, case closed. Now they can rake more time for themselves. Sadly, some parents may even leave SIM cards in the tablets. So there is constant internet supply. In some families, the internet access is 24/7. Right from that age, the child begins to get exposed. And from the research, high levels of exposure are connected to the likelihood of these young ones potentially having a reason to think that I can try, whether for fun, curiosity, or possibly what they have heard that they want to try to be sure whether it may be so for them. And that is something that we need to really think about and see how we'll be able to align. Secondly, the world is becoming busier and busier and busier. No one have time. Just imagine if Dr. Setoji and myself, we are all parents. Looking at her setting, she's still at the office. Looking at my setting, I'm still at the office. Yes, what we are doing is an extension of the impact. As researcher practitioners, we need to help Ghana, and for that matter, the relevant stakeholders we are interested in to benefit from our research and what we do best. But the point is, we are not home. Where are our children? As the world becomes busier and busier and busier, if we don't take care, we will use the quality time we have to give to our children as a resolution just to try to support ourselves by earning more or trying to please our bosses. And for that matter, we risk the quality time that we would have ordinarily given to our children. If that happens,
please hold on, Doc, please hold on and don't lose your line of thought. I just want to remind us that we are also live on Joy 99.7 FM. And for those of us who joined us midway, this is a webinar on the increasing rate of substance abuse among teenagers. And we're saying that it's a case of how much do you know as a parent and how well are you equipped to steer your child away from harm, especially so the times in which we are in the holiday and the festive season. A lot of things are going to be happening. And how much do you know? When your child is out there, what are they even doing? And my guest, I have had Dr. Gladys Setoji speak to us. She is Dr. And then Angelina has also spoken to us a little bit. And then now we have Dr. Collins Ajiman Bedu also speaking to us. And he is actually, Angelina spoke to us and let us into the world of young people, why they do some of the things they do. And Dr. Setoji also spoke to us about some of the things she learns from her interaction with students on campus. And these students are mostly very young people. Now, Dr. Ajiman Bedu, I'm sure you're hearing him speaking to us about where we parents, we are missing out, and that's what we are doing. Still to come will be Madam Abena Washington. We also have the Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission, Dr. Treme, also on the call. We will be hearing from them. And so that is what is happening. If you just joined us, please follow the conversation. Doc, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So just to recap my key argument to bring those who just joined to speed, what we are saying is that the way parents who possibly were raised in a particular way, strictness, stay home, follow rules, directions, we end up trying to repeat the same thing in raising, especially the current generation. And what I'm saying is that we need to invest in trying to understand how the current generation, they think and their behavior pattern. And we've cited a number of examples of how the way they do things, parents rather may miss out. And these young ones, in their quest not to miss out, from what their other colleagues, friends, mates are doing, will want to begin to follow what their colleagues are doing. And that is where we got to. I was just highlighting a point of the context we find ourselves. Parents are increasingly becoming busier, and for a good cause. They want to rise up and meet the expectations of their employers. If they are self-employed, sometimes people begin to think that when you are self-employed, you have more time. Current research is actually indicating that that could even be worse off. And from our clinical practice and data we have, you actually see that those who are self-employed, they even end up spending so much time because the business is theirs and they carry it, unlike those who are working for others who drag the businesses behind them while they move. So if we don't have quality time to invest in trying to understand the current generation that we have, if we are not receptive to be good listeners first and calmly and tactfully reasoning with them to understand their perspective, but become quickly judgmental, scream at them, hit tables, ask them questions for them to feel bad. Where did you learn this from? Who taught you this? Whom have you been speaking with? The moment you begin to ask all these questions simply because they open up, they say something that reveals what may be going on in their lives, they will not come to us again. At this point, they will move and join their friends, and that is what they call the flow. They begin to now march along with their friends. Now, the young ones now more than ever are highly competitive than you can imagine. As young as they are, they have needs that even if their circumstances will not be able to support, they still want to be there. And that is where the dangers are. Now, if you look at the point that I was making, it has to do with the level of exposure. The more exposed these young ones are, the more likely they may get access to abusing substances, and for that matter, all the things you can think of. At the last check, Dr. Setoji mentioned some of them. Shisha, tramadol, cannabis, weed or marijuana, inhalation of glue. And I'm mentioning this. How much may a glue for anything we want to use it for cost? Some of the chemicals they use in making this particular glue is known to contain a very strong stimulants. And sadly, some have resorted to this. It is sad in some countries. It has been reported that even dead bones, the marrows of dead bones, people are going after it. So you go to some countries and they have reported. You go to the cemeteries and we have people who are already on drugs fishing out for even dead bones. Can you imagine? Among the young ones, what we mention is the infusion. So theirs come in another repackaged forms. Look, Angelina mentioned plaques. I don't know whether you understood. Middleman, more or less, it connotes the sense of entrepreneurship. If you look at the term entrepreneurship, it's a middleman who comes between two parties and then try to facilitate a business, make profit and go. In a similar way, the current generation we have contacts. There are other younger ones or a little bit older than them who serve as middlemen for the supply of all these so-called infused products, if we will put it that way, or substances, if you put it that way. So if someone consistently is serving a particular jollof, where is the jollof from? Do you know what is in that jollof? That jollof, mommy, don't get hungry and go and eat that jollof. If you don't take care, you will sleep a whole day. That sobolo that comes and consistently that same sobolo brand and all those things that may be infused, they have others who are supplying this. You go to some of the school settings And all these exposures are allowing these young ones to begin to follow some of these steps that others have already drawn themselves to. So in short, what we are saying is that as parents, we must begin to rethink and realign ourselves and appreciate the thinking and behavior patterns of this current generation.
Right there. Those of you're not just listening, but we are learning, and of these things. Some of these things are very scary. Some of the things that we do, you may not even be thinking that they could be harmful. For instance, having a 24-hour supply of internet in your home. You just might be thinking that, oh, but this is okay, because you could be using it and all that. But they have access to the password. Whatever it is that is happening because they know you're asleep, you do not know. We have a lot of work to do. And I'm also glad you did mention that. Yes, it's important that we are out there working, God knows how many jobs, just so we are able to supply the needs of the family. But we can't do that at the detriment of, the well-being of our children. And so if I am taking anything out of this, it is for us to still try as much as possible to be present in the lives of our children and also learn the new things. Doc, it's interesting how you are very current, eh? You are very current, and that's really very interesting. We probably need a whole school to be able to learn and understand some of these things. But quickly, before I come to you, Dr. Treme, I'll go to Madam Abena Washington. Hi, Abena.
Hello.
Great. So, Madam Abena Washington, she runs the Chosen Rehab Center. For those of you who joined early and we watched the video, I'm sure you saw her speaking, and we spoke to two girls actually who have had their own encounters with substance abuse, and those are just two. There were so many, 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 many girls in that place who have all had their issues with substance abuse. And learning across board that you have 11-year-olds, you have 14-year-olds who are, all into these, abuse of substances. I want you to let us a bit into it. At what point do parents come to realize that their children are abusing substances? They wake up and they start looking for solutions and bringing the children to the rehab center. And also, closely linked to that will be us wanting to also know from you, if you have had interactions with some of these young people, what are their issues? Why do they do it? I mean, we can't have that enough. Why do they do it? And what should we parents be looking out for? Are there any signs in your child that will make you realize that my child has probably been initiated and my child is touching something? We want to know.
Okay, yes. There are a whole lot of factors that, let me start off from parents. What parents should really be looking out for when it comes to their wards. First of all, let me say, I think Dr. Ajiman touched on it at length, but let me just reiterate that parents, please, we need to spend a lot of time with our wards. And like Doctor said, in the old times, parents, there was some sort of distance. But in these times, there has to be that closeness. I'm not saying that your children should be your friends, but you should have that kind of relationship with them where they can come to you with anything. And it's very important that situation, that relationship is established between the parents and the children. Parents, know who your children's friends are, most importantly. Knowing their friends will also let you know the kind of activities that they're engaged in. So know who their friends are, know where they go when they go out. If you allow them to go out with their friends, where are they going? What do they do when they go out? and be in a position to give them advice as to, so when you go out, what are you drinking? Make sure that you don't take any glass from anyone. Right now, the prevalent date rape drug is retinol. Retinol is put in all sorts of drinks, and it causes a lot of harm because it makes you lose your senses, and you can be taken advantage of. So always advise your children that if you're buying any drink, make sure it is brought to you. If it's Coke, Fanta, anything, make sure it is brought to you right in front of you and opened then and there. Do not leave your drinks unattended and walk away and then come back and continue drinking them. That is an absolute no. Absolute no. If you notice that your child likes to be alone, likes to lock themselves in their room, doesn't want to engage with the family, doesn't want to go out with the family and do activities, always wants to be alone, then become a little suspicious. If your child is a teenager, most people say, oh, but that's normal. They're teenagers. They like to isolate themselves. That is true, but as a parent, take it a step further. I mean, we're dealing with a teenager in our household over here. So we have to actually take that step further and actually bring her out to engage with the family, to engage with her one-on-one, to know what she's thinking, you know. Internet is a big, big, big problem worldwide, having access to social media. There's so many sites on social media, even games for 10-year-olds, Roblox. There are sites that invite the children into them and actually teach them about depression and gives them signs of being depressed, and encouraging them and advising them, oh, you should be depressed. You know, there's so many very dark things. Let me put it this way. There's so many dark things out there on the internet, and we may see something like YouTube Kids that is, you may think it's absolutely harmless. But even with YouTube Kids, if you go further, you'll see that there's some cartoons that are designed that teach the children about drugs and drinking. And in a cartoon form, but it's still teaching your children. So try and get your children, go back to the old school way. Get your children outside, let them play football, let them play basketball, other activities that are sports like, instead of sitting down the whole day just in front of a computer. It's something that this generation, everybody wants a phone. Every child, like Angelina was talking about, everyone wants an iPhone, everyone wants a Stanley Cup. My daughter, who's 10 years old, the only thing she wanted for her birthday was a Stanley Cup. And we couldn't understand it, but in order to fit in and to be part of the group, and here at the rehab center, that is the number one cause that most people come here with. How did you get addicted? Oh, it was my friend who introduced me. It's through peer pressure. That's the biggest cause that we have seen. Peer pressure, trying to be part of the cool kids, just like Angelina was saying. So it is very, very important for parents to know who your children's friends are, so you can begin to advise them. And another thing, that parents come and they begin to realize that their kids have gone off a little, as I mentioned before, is when they start to isolate themselves, or when especially if they're in university, when they don't hear from them anymore. Maybe the child used to call them a lot, but then now all of a sudden they're not hearing from their child, and they're wondering what is happening. Okay, it's time for holidays. Why aren't you coming home from school? If your child always giving you excuses, oh, I have to study, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm going to this event, then become a little suspicious, and if you can, drive up to the school to find out what is really going on, because there is a reason why they are trying to isolate themselves or to stay away from you. Boarding school, if they're away in boarding school, please make it a point to always go visit them as often as you can, just to check on them and make sure that they're okay and they're doing the right thing. The same thing for university, because by the time the parents come to us with a problem, it's usually at an advanced stage. And this could have been caught earlier on. It's usually at an advanced stage. And most of the parents think that their wards actually started substance abuse at university level. But upon counseling and interviewing, we found out in most cases it started in high school, it started in secondary school. It started in secondary school. They were introduced through their peers. Their peers introduced them. And we started actually doing this about 15 years ago. So in 15 years ago, it was through Shito in boarding schools, especially when they're making their Shito for their school, then they put the weed seeds in their Shito, and then also through cakes. But now, like Angelina was telling us, you can even get it in jollof. So it's all over the place, all over the place. Parents, we just need to be vigilant, very, very vigilant. We don't want to catch it too late, because one thing we've noticed with the marijuana, with the weed cases that come into our facility, most of the time it has given them a mental imbalance and their antipsychotic medication. You don't want it to get to that stage. You don't want to get to that stage. So what I'm saying is, be friendly with your kids. Get get involved. We are all busy. We're all doing what we can for ourselves, for our families, but most importantly, let us have time for our kids. Let us not over pamper them, most importantly. Maybe they're so addicted to their phone. What you can do is install parental controls and advise your children. There is an app, parental control, that I use, and I give my kids, okay, you only have 1 hour on social media, and that is it. And then your phone automatically locks, meaning you can't get access after this time. You have to put your foot down and be firm, because some kids are so addicted to going online and to having their way that it might become an issue. They might, because they're probably addicted to social media. So you just have to put your foot down, limit their screen time, let them engage in outdoor activities, know their friends. Even if you have to go to their friends' homes and meet their parents, know who their parents are. We've had unfortunate situations of where, even in some cases, parents are the ones who introduce their kids to smoking in very unfortunate situations. So know your friends' parents, know what kind of home that they're living in. Most importantly, limit or don't even allow sleepovers. Allowing your children to go to a friend's house to go and spend the night. That should be a no-no. There's so many things that happen in those cases. Your child could be introduced to so many things at that sleepover. So just make sure that we're all in this together. That is what I tell everyone. Let's all open our eyes, look out for each other, know who your friends, their parents are, let them know who you are, and before you actually allow your children to be going there, even for a visit. So I just want to really let parents out there know that yes, the cases of drug addiction is rampant now. It has increased over the years. But if parents are vigilant and can catch it early on, it is possible, and it will end up helping the young children eventually.
Thank you very much, Abna. Parenting is a daunting task, and we really do have a lot of work to do. I'm listening to all of you, I'm taking notes, and you're asking yourself, okay, the parenting, you cry, where have you reached? I got a message from a parent who says that my 13-year-old boy is sitting with me and I'm looking at him too. You don't have to end up being overly suspicious. We just have to be vigilant, like you're all saying. Dr. Cherry, I'm coming to you now, but I have a question on my mind. When I come back, I will pick on any of you to answer it. There are lots of young people, our young people. But I hear you say that you don't necessarily have to make them your friends, but you have to be close to them. At some of the things that they want to do that will make them happy, if you look at it, you're supposed to be saying no to some of these things. And for them, sometimes Once you're saying no, it is as though you're sitting on their happiness and you don't want them to be themselves. That in itself can start making them withdraw and not come to you and tell you things. Reason I said parenting is a daunting task because you want to be straightening the child. The child is seeing you as, okay, you don't understand me, you don't know where I'm coming from, and then they begin to withdraw from you. Where do you draw the line from, I am being a parent, I am trying to straighten you, and then this person also feels like I am getting depressed because I am simply not having room and space around you here. How do you balance that? Angelina, I see you smiling. I'll come to you and take some thoughts on you, thoughts from you on that. But Dr. Treme, now doctors have made us understand that substance abuse is closely linked to disinhibited behavior. That is when you are unable to properly control, yourself and your emotions and whatever it is that you find yourself doing, because then you are under the influence of something. And when people are in that state, casual sex or, all these sexual behaviors just, comes in. And sometimes before you wake up or before you open your eyes, you have actually even done things that you really didn't want to do. And it is happening to a lot of our young people. We are learning also that HIV is on the increase. Our young people are catching it because of their behaviors. Could you let us into some of the numbers and what is really happening, what parents can do, what we have to look out for? Dr. Treme is the Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission.
Thank you very much, Edem. And I must say that I'm very grateful for bringing me on this program. I have been educated and very much so. Now, a lot of thoughts are going through my mind, but I want to thank the fellow panelists for the excellent job they have done. Indeed, the young people of today are not like us when we were kids. We were just following our parents, obeying whatever they ask us to do, and trying to be careful to the extent that you always want to make sure you do not go against the rules in the home. But the young people of today would rather want to go with the flow, as they say. And so, yes, we need to understand them and we need to make sure we work with them, because from all that I have heard, yes, we probably may be losing our children because we spend so much time at work. We want to be successful at work. We want to be successful at everything we are doing. And because of that objective, in pursuit of that objectives, we have very limited time interacting and engaging with our children. And if we are not engaging, others will engage them on our behalf, and they will end up learning and doing things that we may have no idea about. So it's been a very good educational session for me. And I thank all of you who have made this possible. Yes, if I may say this before I answer your question, Edem. The issue of success is important to every human being. We all want to reach our full potential. And for me, success is not what the wealth you have accumulated or acquired. It's not about how well you've done in your profession. They are all very important, but for me, one of the important marks of success is the quality of the children you brought into this world. Are they able to reach their potential? Are they resourceful to the society and community in which they live? All these are very important. But back to your question, the issue of HIV is just the product of all the behaviors that have been described to us this evening. Because as the young people say, one thing leads to another. And it's often the case that as we discuss the use or abuse of substances and the fact that substance use and sex are mutually inclusive. And so you will find that, as you rightly said, when they do the drugs, they drink, they do the shishas and all those things, in the end, they are excited, and what they will end up doing is having sex or doing something more that brings more excitement. And so we have, in that situation, they may not use any protection. And protection here means use of condoms, and using condoms correctly so that they do not get infection or get pregnant or making someone pregnant. Unfortunately for us, as a country, we're seeing high numbers of young people being newly infected with HIV. Out of the almost 18,000 new infections that occurred in 2023, about 4,867 of them were young people between the ages of 15 and 24. And this population, HIV population, I would say the young HIV population has increased by about 2% in the last 10 years. Now, when we talk about this group, normally, most of them who get infected actually through mother-to-child transmission. But when you talk of new infections among the people aged 15 and 24, it has nothing to do with mother-to-child transmission. It has everything to do with risky behaviors. And the risky behaviors that we have seen actually as a result of unprotected sex, which often occurs between older men and young women, between men who are 5 years to 10 years or more older than the young women or the adolescents and young women they have sex with. And so one may say that the transmission is actually from the men to the young women, because when you compare when you consider the fact that more than 85% of the new infections that occurred were actually accounted for by women or young women, adolescents and young women. So there are more young women having new infections than young men. And so it is obvious that the source of the infection is from older men. And so intergenerational sex is really responsible for new infections among adolescent girls and young women. The issue of adolescent girls is quite concerning for me because they, first of all, they do not know their HIV status, and neither do they know the status of their partners. And the most disturbing aspect of it is that they have very low knowledge on how to protect themselves against HIV. And so comprehensive knowledge on HIV prevention among this group is very low. It's about 36% among girls and 37% among boys, which is almost the same. And if they don't know how to protect themselves against HIV, then it is obvious that they do not know how to protect themselves against other sexually transmitted infections. And so would it be that they may not, of course, these days they use quite a lot of, morning after pill or emergency contraceptives. So for some of them, yes, they are able to protect themselves against unwanted pregnancy, but most of them do not have that knowledge or access to sex drugs because of the fact that they may not know where to find it. And I like the point that Angelina made, that the young people are not homogeneous. They are actually heterogeneous. And so you have those who come from the middle class families, rich families, and you still have those who come from, poor families. And they also have their own problems. They have their own challenges. And so we have to see how, as parents, knowing our own economic status, what we can do to support our children, because the poor ones are being taken advantage of, whilst the rich or the middle class ones, have the freedom to choose what they do. And so you may have some choosing to have same-sex relationships, some choosing to have engage in hookup activities, doing all kinds of things that parents may not know. And all these put them at risk. So the point is that all the use of substance and the risky behaviors that young people engage in eventually lead to some consequences, and some of which would be the impact of all that, the risky behaviors, the drug use. They have huge health impacts on them. And so their health is very important. And it's not only about HIV or sexually transmitted infection. It's about, mental health. It's about some of the results of the, long-term use of these drugs can be quite terrible for them, so far as it's diseases that arise because of the long-term effect of some of these drugs that they use. And so it is important that parents draw closer to their children, monitor them well, and ensure that they give them the right information because children may want to choose to do things, especially when they are highly exposed, like Dr. Ajiman said. When they are highly exposed, they have the freedom to do a number of things. And so we need to see how we support them to use the exposure positively for their own health and for their own future. And I want to use the example of, sex. In the past, let me talk about, sexual debut, for example. In 1998, young people who had their first sex before age 15 was about 7.3% among girls. And for boys, it was 3.7%. 10 years later, that is 2008, it went up to 8% among girls and 4% among boys. So you can see that the rate of increase was very marginal among both sexes. But 10 years after that, or let's say 20 years after the 1998, sexual debut or first sex of young girls was around 11%, and for boys it was 7%. So you can see the jump. And since then, sexual debut before age 15 is going up. And when they do this, most often it is casual sex. Their first sex is often casual sex because they have never had any relationship before. And casual sex is one of the main reasons for HIV transmission in the country, contributes more than 74% among heterosexuals when it comes to HIV transmission. So it is very important that we guide young people to consider the choices that they make. And no one is saying that they should not have sex, but they should, if they have to do it at the right time and have the knowledge about it in terms of protection and how that would help them reach their full potential. If it is going to be detrimental, then obviously there is no reason going into it. If they are not ready for it, they should not go into it. And so that is why we always talk about the need to abstain from sex, because it's the surest way to protect young people from contracting HIV and other sexually transmitted infections.
Great.
So I would like to end here and thank you very much for educating me and the audience this evening. And I hope parents are taking note. Thank you, Edem. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chemi. Thank you. And once again, for us, it will be about parents learning, because if you do not learn and you are not sure how to even discuss, sex and sexuality with your children, then we will be beating about the bush like our parents did. And if you're beating about the bush, well, that's your problem, because they will always have solutions to it. And so it's important that we arm ourselves. Somebody says that really parents should rather align. How did we get here? Well, this is the internet age, and there's nothing you are able to hide from anybody these days. So alignment doesn't mean that we should do as they are saying, but I would want to believe that this alignment means that we will have to understand the times in which we are and be able to raise them accordingly. On the call, apart from my speakers, I see Queen Awin Dogana. Nanajwa, good evening to you. Abiola Kakraba is on. I see Adira, you are on. Oh, Dr. Ifwa Hesse is here. Amenyo Setoji, Angelina Atukwamena is here. Blessed. Cynthia Awuni. Oh, Damel is here. Damel Kekeli is, she produced the video. She's here. Dora, Dr. Alexander, Edwina Pencil, Ikwa Adams. Oh, Ikwa, Elikem, Elizabeth, Enshil, all of you are here. Frida, I see all of you on the call. Khadija, you're all here. Thank you all very much. Oh, Dr. Mary Ayim, you're here too. Rebecca Ajiman is here. I have so many people on the call. Thank you for joining in. I asked the question earlier. I don't know which of you will take it. We are leaving here in just 17 minutes. At 9 p.m. we're done. We're off radio. We are off the call as well. I was asking where we can draw the balance between not hurting the emotions of our children because we still want them to feel loved. We still want them to feel we are there for them. We still want them to feel we care for them, even when we are saying no to them. But sometimes to them, it means that you don't care about me, you don't care about my feelings, you don't care how I am taking this. And Angelina, I saw smiles on your face. If you'd want to put in a word for our young people and let us understand how we can draw that balance.
I think when it comes to young people, what we really want is open communication and transparency, really. We don't want to be judged, like I said in the beginning. We want you to listen to us, and then, if possible, right, empower us than tell us like the fear-driven ones. So I think that most of the time when insurance companies meet us, right, they tell us that if you don't subscribe to my insurance, what if your mother dies? What would you like? They keep on selling fear to us. Like when a young girl starts her menstruation period, and like bema de not like, and then it's like it's fear that is being sold to us, right? But now it doesn't work anymore. Young people like the Gen Zs now were born into like the digital world, so they have access to every single thing on the internet. Well, this is just the Gen Zs. Imagine the Gen Alphas that are coming up. They are more wilder than us. That's even a Gen Z. Sometimes we are confused as to what they are saying and what they are doing. So if the approach is open communication and transparency, and instead of using the fear factor, they rather empower us, and then also give us the tools. Because I mean, we're on social media, right? Every single time, that is where we go to for information. If possible, those are the forefront. Would rather want to talk to us in a communication, a language that is better, or the language that would understand better, and not the complex language. It would be better if we understand whatever is happening, we understand the cases, we understand the issues at hand in a more basic, lack of better word, Gen Z language, right? And then also, if parents could engage us in the process and not engage us when the conversation is done, tell us why this and this is happening. Put us in the process of the communication and not when you are done with the conversation, something like that. Okay, then just do this and then you are good to go. And yeah, so I think that will be it from my end.
Great, thank you. So we should think with you and have conversations with you rather than instruct you and sell fear to you. Yes, ma'am. We have heard you people. Before I come and take the final words from my speakers, for those of us who are joining on the call, I'm opening up for about 2 or 3 contributions or questions. Are there thoughts, are there contributions that anybody wants to put out there? If you'd like to, please put your hand up. I will give you permission to do that. Do I have anybody here who wants to contribute? Okay, while I wait for that to be done so we don't waste the time.
So Adam, you have
Yes.
Dr. Les Walker and Khadija on the line, or their hands are up.
Okay, great. Doc, please go first.
Thank you so very much, Edem. I'm very much grateful to join this particular call. It's been very insightful, and I'm very grateful to your panelists. I think the last speaker was talking about the fear factor. You know, as parents, we have gone through the chain, and we know exactly what is ahead of you. So normally in our local proverb, they say what the older man can see when they are sitting down. When the younger man is standing on the mountain, they don't see those things. So I think it's rather the pain points that we are supposed to set and not the fear factor. The pain point is that I'm telling you that the road you have taken will lead you to destruction. So I'm warning you and giving you the pain point and not the fear factor. The fear factor is a word that we can use, but we can also use the pain point to direct you. Sometimes you have to spare the rod and spoil the child, and it is clear. So I agree with the generation of the Gen Zs and say that as a parent, I've gone through a lot of things, and I know that this is what the end will finally bring to you. So I'm selling the pain points. I'm not selling the fear factor. Thank you very much.
Very much, Doc. We are selling the pain points and not the fear factor. Hi, Khadija.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for this wonderful webinar. So what I wanted to add was, I want to add on to what Angelina said. I want to talk about how you can say no without sounding authoritarian. So one thing that's growing up, one thing that I learned from my parents was I used to fear my parents a lot. And anytime I wanted something, I was afraid I'll hear no. So instead of going ahead to ask for it, I'll just do something else. But where I am now, I came to realize that instead of they saying no to me, they could have done it in a different way. And that different way is, so don't just say no straightforward. Just sometimes parents assume that kids cannot understand, but trust me, kids are smart, and when you explain things to them, they would understand. So instead of saying no, you rather explain to them the reasons why you cannot give them what they are asking for at that time. So you don't sound authoritarian. No, I will not give it to you, but you rather sound, oh, let's reason together, let's compromise. So yeah, that's just my little contribution I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khadija. Angelina, this reminds me of the conversation we had. Angelina says that, Edem, the next webinar, we should have parents in a room seated to one side and then the children also to one side so that we can actually have a tete-a-tete and interact. That's what is coming up. We say this, they say this. Okay, I'll take the last contribution on this webinar from the name. I see Samsung there, but what's the name? And we'll take the last contribution from you. Khadija, you can lower your hand now.
Hello. Okay, so my name is Annie, and it's been a very great and insightful webinar. But what I just want to add is, as parents, we need to also understand that it is not always easy to change and adapt to the various generations and how they behave. It is the willingness to learn and accept that there are changes and we need to learn how to adapt and also guide as well. So we need to also understand that the issue of peer pressure that is coming from the side of the kids as we see it is not always like that. Sometimes some parents have pressure from their fellow parents or colleagues or friends as well. And this also lures them to push these kids to these gadgets and all sorts of things. So we need to be mindful of these ones as well. But then the readiness to learn that there's a difference in the various generations also help. Thank you very much.
you very much. Let me remind us that this webinar is brought to us by Family Forum Africa, and it's an organization focused on building thriving families and homes through broadcasts such as the one we're having today, family activities and activations. We're looking at school and workplace and, community outreaches. Family Forum Africa, I mean, like I mentioned, we're starting a Facebook community. It's going to be a very big community of parents. We will be sharing ideas together like this very often. And so you want to go on Facebook and look for Family Forum Africa. You will find the logo there, and then you want to join the community so that consistently we can have conversations. Our aim really is just to be able to build thriving homes, spaces that we are all very happy that we live in with our children and our families. So it's important that you are part of this movement so that we can make a change in the lives of our children. Like I mentioned, we'll be going off very soon. And so I'm going to give our speakers 2 minutes each to wrap up. 2 minutes, I will come in. I'll start with you, Dr. Collins Bedwajiman. Your final words before we leave.
Yeah, so it's been a pleasure having the young ones and also researchers as well as parents on this call. I will want to talk about what all of us can do briefly. I think government interventions must leverage on the available research so that we can be targeted in anything that we do. Secondly, if there are more exposures, especially in some communities than others, then we need to develop interventions that will be able to support areas where there are more exposures. Now, as an instructor, I have a lot of impact. The number of students who pass through my hands every year. What can I do? I am doing my part. I enter my lecture theater in my classroom, and Edem, the first thing I do, and now all my students know, they put their phones in their bags, it's on silence, and at least talk to 5 people, 2 in front, 2 behind you, 1 by your side, creating people time rather than screen time. Parents, as I did mention, the alignment we mentioned had to do with, as the last contributor said, investing to understand the generational thinking and being able to adapt and adjust so you can guide. It does not mean the children should take the lead, you follow them. No, that's not what it means. But we want to meet their behavior pattern, their understanding, so we'll be able to guide. I urge you, Edem, to continue with such socially helpful programs so that we'll be able to help the entire Ghanaians. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you. Dr. Satoji, your final words.
Okay. I would want to encourage parents to give their children a generous amount of empathy and engage them in conversations. But the thing is, they are aware already because they have the social media with them. So they are aware of all the happenings going on. We shouldn't shroud anything in secrecy. Let's have a conversation with our children. And I add the clause that I love you so much, even if. And that is to open the door, the opportunity that even when all else fail, you can still run to mommy, you can still run to daddy, and we can still have a conversation. And the next thing I will talk about is when our children confide in us, please, let's keep it confidential. The child told you something, the next day is within the family, is within the community, everybody is aware. That also kills their self-esteem. And next time they wouldn't want to even come and have the discussion with you. And then also, finally, education. Educate them. For instance, when you are introduced to drug, especially cannabis, at a teenage, it affects the prefrontal cortex of the brain. where it is responsible for executive functioning, thinking, decision, long-term decision making, it gets affected and the brain does not get the opportunity to develop. So let's educate them. We have experience. Let's share with them. It is not that we don't want them to explore and enjoy life, but it comes with its own ramifications. And that is what we want to prevent them from. So let's have a very honest conversations with them, and let's tell them what we expect of them and the consequences that is likely to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Setoji. I like that bit about the consequences. We say A, you say B. Okay. It's important that we let them know what the consequences are. We appreciate that very much. Let me come to you, Abner Washington.
Okay, so my final words in our own little way, Chosen Rehab Center will be visiting all the secondary schools next year. We've gotten permission from the Ghana Education Service to go and hold Say No to Drug campaigns in all the schools. So we are tackling this from when they are very young, and to introduce them to weed, just like Dr. Sachaje was talking about, especially to weed and to pills. And then we will have people in the program that are ambassadors and who will be telling their experience of how they got introduced to it, what they went through and how it has affected their lives, how it has damaged the lives of their families and everything. And this is just to make them aware of how serious it is, and not follow the crowd when a friend says, let's try some weed, not follow that trend, because just one chance, one time taking it can lead to a life of being addicted. So we aim to do this starting from January, and we're doing it because of our youth. As we all know, it is a serious problem out there, and we're committing most of our resources to make sure that a lot of the youth know about this problem and can abstain from it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we are in this together. We will go on this journey with you. Dr. Chemi, let's take your final words.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, I'll just say that the choices young people make today have consequences. They have, effects in all forms of dimensions on their lives. Some can be lifelong or long-term effect on their lives, including health. And so they should open up to their parents. If their parents have been able to achieve what they have achieved, and then even, bringing them up to the level where they are now is a great achievement. And they should know that for someone to do that, it means he knows quite a lot. It means he has some experience that they may not have. So opening up to your own parents is a good idea. As you expect your parents to handle you in a certain way, also try to see how you can handle them, so that you both can mutually support each other, so that you can reach your full potential. Thank you. Edem, I'm done. Thank you.
Joy,
yes, Dr. Sherry, thank you very
99.7
much.
FM.
Thank you so much. And finally, we will speak to Angelina, who will take us home. Angelina.
So I think mine
About
is
our young people.
basically the fact that most of the time young people are rather like scolded on the things that they do. If parents could be more appreciative of their efforts, right? And then also, I hear a lot of we are going to schools, we are going to we are doing a lot of research, right? I just hope that there's no like language barrier between the information and then the young people, and it will be put out in a way that we could easily understand and also see it. Because I know most of the time they are Ghana is commissioning and then say no to drugs campaigns, but we barely see them. It's either there's an issue with the platform they are putting it on or how they are communicating. So if possible, they could have like a young person on a team or an agency or some sort to help with such research to help for young people.
All right. Thank you very much,
Thank
Angelina.
you.
And this is where we'd like to say thank you to all of you, especially those of you who joined us as well, those of you who tuned in on radio, those of you who are watching the live stream on social media. Thank you all very much. But especially those of you who are on the webinar, please go into the chat session and drop your name and your contact. We would want to have, a database of you so that we can network and be able to do this together. I am sure that when we want to go on outreaches and all that, there may be some of you in here who would want to be on, who are so concerned about our young people, about the family. Everything we'll be doing is not just about young people, it's about the family. And I'm sure every one of us here will have ways that we can contribute to building this community that we all will be proud of. So please kindly drop your names and your contacts in the chat session. We will have a database of it and we will reach out to every one of you. For those of you who are also not seeing the page, we will send you the invite so that you will be able to join in. And together, I'm saying it again, we'll hold hands, we'll build communities and families that we are very, very excited about. To our speakers, Dr. Gladys Setoji, clinical psychologist, senior counselor, careers and counseling directorate, University of Ghana, Legon. Thank you very much, ma'am. To you, Dr. Collins Bedu Ajiman, incoming president, Pan-African Psychology Union and director, Pan-African Doctoral Academy, University of Ghana. Thank you, Doc. I also want to say a very big thank you to Dr. Tremi Etuahene, Director General, Ghana AIDS Commission. To you, Madam Abena Washington, Founder, Director, Chosen Rehab Center. Thank you so much. And Angelina Ifua Enimwa Enin, Content Operations Manager, Echo Campus. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. Let's keep the advocacy on. Let's be present. Let's be vigilant. Let's build relationships with our children, our families. Some of the points are noted. It's important that we are knowing the friends of our parents, even the parents, of the friends of our children. It's important that we know them, especially this season. I think one of our speakers mentioned that when you go out there and you drop a glass, you come back. Most likely don't go back to that glass because something may have been put in that glass for you just to be able to, derail you. So this season, especially, look out for what you're eating, what you're drinking. We've learned today that jollof that you're eating could be infused, so be careful. There's something called sobolo could be infused, even mashke could be infused. So when you go out there, let's tell the children, when you go out there, even in the company of your friends, just to go and watch a movie or do whatever, be vigilant. Not everybody has a clean mind like you do. And for us parents, if we're not sure about where our children want to go, we're learning here this evening that it's important you have conversations with them, communicate to them, let them understand the consequences. We are not necessarily putting fears in you, but we are telling you that we want you to be safe. Thank you all very much for making the time. God bless you. And then this is just starting. My name is Edem Knight-Tay. See you all some other time.